We've got Shug Emery, like you've never seen him or heard him before.
Coming up right now. Let's do it. Hello, what's going on, B&B? This is Derek, and with me today is the only man who can whittle a flute out of tree bark, gum, and a dull rock, Carl Shoulders Mandrioli. It's good to see you, buddy. How you doing?
It's good to see you too. We're in separate states again, and it's not quite the same, but you know what? We got to make do. So
we got to make do.
With me today is Derek Somerville. He's a man who was once so lonely he glued a cup of coffee to the top of his car so that everyone would wave to him.
I don't know.
Kind of sad. Kind of sad.
Did you try that? Is that why you? Have you tried that?
Maybe.
I mean, you shop with weights in your backpack. I was thinking about the shopping with the weights in the backpack at the store. Like, why do you have to go to the store to do that? Why can't you just do it around your?
Like shop on Amazon with the weights in my backpack?
You could do that, or just walk around your neighborhood. Or it's like
I do that too. I do all that stuff.
Attention? Is that why you want the attention from people?
Yeah, I don't get attention for doing that. But what Derek's talking about is me putting weights in my backpack to train for backpacking. And I'm in the store for a long time doing the grocery shopping. So it's just killing two birds with one stone, my friend. That's what it is.
It's really sad, but
we can talk about efficiencies, like, ideas later if you want some thoughts there.
I'm okay, but thank you. Okay. We have a big episode.
It's a big episode. We have Shug Emery, we got Shug, and man, this is like Shug like you've never heard him before. Let's be honest.
I'm excited. I wasn't able to make this one, but I'm excited to hear all about it.
I actually thought about that because, like when you have a big time person like Shug, it's hard to schedule, especially with you scheduling. And then I thought, Derek's not going to make this one. But do I even need to make this one? Like, he's so darn entertaining. I could have just given him a list of questions, and that might have been sufficient.
Is he like the Jim Carrey of the podcasting YouTube world?
Kinda. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
What it is? Like, he can be multiple people at the same time.
Ooh, could he interview himself? Is that what you're asking?
I bet he could.
All right. I mean, let's throw that at him next time. Just say, you know what, Derek and I aren't even going to show up.
We'll hit play, walk out, and then there's a show.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But no, it was a good conversation actually. I'm being a little facetious there, but you know what? We actually have another announcement. We had a Patreon supporter, a new one, Katie from Modesto, California. So thank you for joining us, Katie. We really appreciate it.
Love it.
It was last month. I feel like I just got to get that out there because it's been so long since I made that announcement. She's actually a newer backpacker, and she only has a few trips under her belt, mostly in Emigrant Wilderness, which you and I are very familiar with.
Yeah.
And
she jumped on the Patreon right away. I mean, what does that tell you? Quality.
She did. And so, she says she's an avid hiker. She's got a wilderness permit for Yosemite in July, which is excellent. But here's what she said. So I got to read this quote here because we got to analyze this. She says, now that I've graduated school, my goal is to get out there more. I think everything you guys are doing is awesome. I always talk about how I would love to go on a trip with you guys. Keep up the good work. Okay. The crux of that is now that she's graduated school. So what are you talking about here? Are we thinking college?
Yeah.
Okay, not high school.
No.
Not middle school.
Yes.
Yes, middle school. Okay.
Perfect.
So I don't know what school she graduated or how old she is, but congratulations either way. And
are you prejudging her backpacking hiking abilities based on where she went to school? Like, is she going to be competent enough to make it through a hike or something? Or what are you getting at?
How are you getting that? Where's that even
I don't know. Like,
from?
maybe she graduated Harvard and you're like, you're good out there. Maybe she graduated community college and you're like, I don't know. I'm worried about you.
No, I was trying to figure her age and like the fact that somebody, really, if you want to know where I'm going in terms of the over analysis, it's why would somebody who's just out of school, somebody who's fresh, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to meet the world, want to go backpacking with you?
I mean, well, think about it. Maybe she went back to school, but she's 35. Maybe she got that degree late. Had a couple kids.
We have
no idea.
Yeah,
I don't have any idea.
Katie, enlighten us because these things are confusing to us, and we want to know. So
Carl worries and frets. I think he's worried. If she's 20, then I can then grade her on stuff. I can critique and help her. But if she's like 35, 40, then it's like, well, I can't really do that.
Yeah, I still can. Let's be honest.
That's true. You have an issue with that. So.
An issue. Kay, you don't have to be in school to get graded. I can grade you right here on the podcast.
Every day, all day.
I'm going to give you an A+ for joining Patreon. How about that? There you go.
I'm going to give her an A++.
Okay.
So
that's better. All right. You're coming over to the dark side of grading. Thank you for that, Derek.
That was to humor you. That's it.
All right. Anyway, thanks for joining us. And for this episode, we've got a Bible verse, Luke 5:16. But he, referring to Jesus, would withdraw to a desolate place and pray. That's it.
So where's your desolate place is my question. The basement?
That's your question. Oh, you had a question.
Yeah.
I need to do that more often. I don't have a desolate place because I have kids, and
so the bathroom. The bathroom is the desolate.
That's a good one.
I think as I get older and you have kids, you really value the sanctity of the bathroom.
Do you ever go into the bathroom, lock the door, and then you don't even go to the bathroom? You're just kind of in there.
Oh, you just sit there and like, you know what? I just need to respond to this text or check an email in peace. That's it.
It is a strategy.
Oh, you turn the water on, let the water run.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a good strategy. Yeah. I had a question. Your question was better, so we'll stick with that. That's really funny. Okay. All right. So here we go. It's time. It's time for Shug.
Buckle up, guys.
Here we go. Okay, I'm catching up here with Sean Shug Emery. Sir, how you doing today?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm putting on my paper so I can actually, if I'm looking right now, all I see is blue and just weird shapes.
Right.
Tough being 64. You just start losing all the little fine tuning things.
Are you 64? Really?
I am.
Okay.
I am 64.
Well done, man. You're getting after it still. I love it. I love it. So, hey, I got a story to start off with for you real quick.
All right.
So we had a Patreon trip back in September where we went to Grand Teton National Park, and like, long story short, like, we had 10 cancellations, and so it just ended up being 3 dudes. And on the drive back, we had a great time. On the drive back, we're talking about some highlights from the trip, and so we're kind of going this and that, this and that. And then I get a little notification on my phone that I got a message, and the message was from you because I'd asked you to kind of leave your best backpacking tip for our 200th episode. And so I was like, oh, hey, Shug left us a message. So I just played it, on the Bluetooth speaker in the truck. And everybody liked the message. And then one of the guys named Jason from Indiana is like, hey, so I gotta amend my highlight from the trip. That was my highlight right there. Your message after the backpacking trip. That's the impact you have, Shug.
We were talking about this in the woods on this winter trip we did this past week. And, we got down to minus 24. And I like to, I'm always trying to bring them up because there were other YouTubers. So I wanted to get them talking about being a YouTuber, and don't just give me, well, I really like it because I'm reaching out and I enjoy the money. And it's like, what I always realize and get reminded of is the power of a podcast, and the voice is one thing, but the power of a visual medium like that. I've come to know that you can use it for good or for bad, because one of the weirdest things that ever happened to me was on the Spear Hiking Trail, and I set up camp early, and a couple of guys walked in and they went, "Hey man, are you that hammock guy?" And I always go, "I don't know,
hammock guy."
I go, "I don't know. Do you like the hammock guy?" And they went, "Oh yeah, we did." I said, "Well, I am him." So we took a selfie, and then one of them noticed my little cook pot, which is, it's just a little Imusa $6 pot, and I call it hillbilly pot.
Right.
It's beat up, it's dented up, and one of them saw it and said, "Hey man, hillbilly pot." And they went, "Can we take a picture with it?" So they're posing, and I went over and go, "You guys want me in it?" They go, "Nah, we already got you." So I sat there and I went, that $6 pot has become a character that people recognize because of this medium. It's like they see it, and I was just sitting there going, we got a lot of power in our hands, So I try to respect it and use it for good.
Right. Yeah.
Not for evil.
Not for evil. Well, yeah. Well, obviously people are appreciated because, like I said, that was one of their highlights. So, okay. So you just referenced you were on a trip recently, and you're with like just a bunch of famous people, essentially, right? It's just like a famous person's backpacking trip. Is kind of
yes. I never know the level of anybody else's YouTube fame because I don't watch a ton of backpacking videos.
Yeah.
It's just some will come up. I watch canoeing videos. So it was Miyagi on the trail who, he doesn't have that big a channel, but he puts a lot into it because he doesn't really, he puts out a few, but he doesn't really try to push it. It was Rob Pelton, who I think tries to really works at his channel a little bit more. It was Andy Parrish, Outdoors. He's a Scoutmaster. I don't know how big his channel is. It was me. And then there was Jeremy, who's Midwest Backpacker, who pretty prolific. So it was interesting. They invited me along because I saw Miyagi and Jeremy at a hang, and them knowing me, Miyagi told me, he said, I invited you. I sort of figured it'd be 50-50 knowing you. You're kind of an enigma. You kind of like to go alone. And believe me, I come home and think about it and go, should I not? My wife goes, I think you should. You need some humanity in your life. Because I like to go with my really good friends, and I'm so glad I went. That's all I can say. I had a great time of brotherhood. We had just had so much fun. So it reminds me sometimes to just kind of break out and go sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Off the couch, right?
Well, not off the couch. It's just when you're on YouTube, you get invited to backpack with people a lot.
Oh,
and they know you from YouTube, but I don't know them.
Yeah.
They'll invite me or they invite themselves along with me. So I always find a way to politely decline because I'm going, I don't know you. I don't have I can't profile you.
Right.
Because Miyagi was laughing at me. I said, I profiled everybody on our trip. I looked them up on YouTube, watched a few of their videos, get a feel of their vibe. Because, I'm like the gray man. I got to have a little bit of info before I go out there.
Yeah.
Know a little bit. Yeah, it's like your podcast. First time I was on it, I listened to a few just to get the feel of what you guys talk about.
Right.
Are you dirty? Are you clean? Where do you go with it? It only helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, to answer your point about like you don't know, what people's levels are, or I guess levels for YouTube. If you're level 10, we're level 1, or we're level like 0.5 because we're just starting our podcast on YouTube. So we're down low. So we're honored just to have you on, especially in the YouTube realm. So thanks for being on. But in terms of going to others, I guess not. I'm not getting those invites like you're getting. So that's why I was saying off the couch. But it sounds like you're getting those invites a lot. So you got to kind of pick and choose who's your crew, who you want to go with, and
they're the strange YouTube. Like I had this group of doctors that reached out to me that wanted me to come on a trip. They wanted to pay me, and they just said, "You can just entertain us the whole time." And that's like the last. Doing YouTube is one thing, but the person you see on video, that is me, and it is a little bit of a heightened version of me. But if you camp with me, several times in the day, I tend to get quiet or go off and have my own time.
Right.
I think people see this thing and they think you're that all the time, or that you live in the woods.
Right.
And I thought it was nice that these guys were going to invite me and pay me. I was going to charge them out the wazoo, but
how much are you to charge them? Like 10K? You thinking?
I didn't even go that far to think about it. I just went, no. The minute they said you can entertain us, I was like, no, I don't. Okay. It's not what I want to do. Backpacking to me is that time. That's why I'm choosy about who I go with, because it's precious time.
Right.
And I don't want to waste a trip. Even though as a YouTuber, I go fairly often, but every time it's like a solo. It's just like it's got to be quality time for me, and I'm choosy about it.
Right. And on that trip, the recent one you're talking about here, we were kind of going back and forth on email. You really dug into what you call like backpacking philosophy. I guess you were kind of going around and around with some different philosophies or something. You weren't super specific in the email. You just shared that you kind of had dug in on that topic a lot. So you come out with any conclusions or any grand reflections or anything?
There's never a real answer, because this trip with the guys was a lot of cutting up. It's like I always say, when you get a bunch of guys in, for the other genders, I don't know how they feel when they're out there, but when I go out either alone or with other guys, it feels like an old man scout troop, and I feel like a 12 or 13-year-old. That's how I want to feel. I don't have to take care of my wife. I got everybody else's back. I'm watching. I'll even give you some of my M&Ms if you're hungry. But the philosophy, I'll throw out a question, and it's often that one that we all have, I think, is like when you're sitting out there at night. We're sitting out there, coldest we got was -24, but every night was in the sub-zero Fahrenheit, sitting out there. And plus, winter camping is a ton of work. Like, why do we do this when we could be doing so many other things? Where does it come from? What are we looking for when we go out? And why are we doing this other than some other things, like sitting around watching a football game on Sunday, eating nachos? And in that answer, some hobbies are like, if you go play golf, I'm not a golfer, but I figure it takes 5 or 6 hours. When I go out and fly my control line planes, that's a 3 to 6 hour event. when I practice music, that could be all day or a chunk of time. But when you go camping, you know how many days you're going. So it's, it's 72 hours, it's 48 hours, it's a chunk of time. So I look at some of it in this time continuum. But for backpacking, I've come to the conclusion that it's just this primordial, deep thing, because I don't use the word fun for backpacking. People say type 2 fun, it's fun when it's over. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than fun. I don't even know that it is fun.
Really?
It's a chance to play. Well, not fun. Fun to me is like riding a roller coaster. It's fun in the sense of it's rewarding, it's challenging, it makes me feel like a man. It proves I'm self-reliant. It pushes me. It hurts. I laugh. I appreciate nature. I'm not particularly religious, but I feel closer to God as I see him. It's unfiltered. Just all those things that I think I'm looking for in life all the time. Sometimes I get focused. Alone, I do. When I'm with people, I'm totally off my game. But when I'm alone, I'm pretty focused.
Okay.
Get into it and I can stay focused, and then I can pick up my camera and talk and turn into a big orangutan, and then turn the camera off and get back to my thing.
Yeah. That's interesting hearing you talk about it, because I feel like the whole concept of type 2 fun was like, I viewed it that way when I was in my 20s and maybe in my early 30s. But as I've gotten older, I feel like type 2 fun is not a thing. I was in Yosemite a year and a half ago. We had 100-degree days. We're in the sun. We had, I don't know, thousands of feet of elevation. It seemed like we're just climbing endless mountains. And I was loving every single minute of it. I was just like, I love being outside. I love that my body can do this. I love that I've got some brothers with me who I can just enjoy the challenge of this with. It wasn't like I was enjoying it in the moment. It wasn't type 2 at all. So, but I think our definitions of fun might be different based on what you were just saying there.
Well, I think when my understanding of type 2 fun is it's fun when it's over.
Right.
And you can reflect back on it.
Exactly.
And, some of the camping trips I've taken, I've taken a couple lately because, when you do YouTube, I'm often, it's my own doing, but people start to write, oh, when are you going out again? Looking forward to your next trip. And I start to feel pressure to go. And sometimes when I'm driving up to go do a trip, honestly, I'm really not in the mood. I feel like I'm forcing myself to go. But what often happens is after the first day, when it feels a little bit forced, that trip can just turn into what you were just talking about, where I'm going, I am grooming on this trip. In fact, the trip I did right before this one, I went and did just a little solo for that very reason. People were starting to ask me, winter's short, you're getting kind of, you need to get out there. And I feel that YouTube pressure. And it's good and it's bad. And I just got out there and it started being really, really, really fun. Everything about it. And I mean, winter camping, you think you're waiting to sit down for a minute and you sit down for like 10 minutes. And that's when you get cold, of course. But you're looking around going, I got to do this, I got to do that. Or you're thinking, let me just finish chopping this wood. Then I'll take a drink of water, because I haven't had a drink of water in like 4 hours.
Right.
It's just a constant weighing out of what you need to do and what you have to do and what you should be doing and what has to get done. And, I always claim I'm a lazy man, and I am in a sense, but I work all the time. I replaced the timer in our dryer today and fixed it while my wife was out on a cruise visiting my daughter. And I feel like such a hero. So, I saved us like $600, but but the thing is, I watched a YouTube video on how to do it, saw what part I needed, and went, I can do that.
For sure.
It's the same as people listen to, you guys, or watch me to get in the hammocks and I pop up. It is good. But, like I say, sometimes your people that comment for you start to lay a little pressure on you.
Yeah. I would just say, please unsubscribe. I don't want this pressure. You're not my YouTube parent. Get out of here.
Well, they're doing it in a very friendly way because they're looking forward to your next video. And I don't have a schedule.
I know.
I do them when, so I'm kind of, I guess one side of me likes the pressure, but that day when I'm driving up, packing for the trip, telling my wife going, there's so many things to do, but I'm going to just go. And she goes, just go.
Right.
And that first day, I barely even record, because every time I pick up the camera to say something, it feels a little forced. So I just shoot some B-roll without talking and really just kind of start talking from breakfast from the hammock. And as I'm sitting there talking about the day ahead of me, that's when I start to get really excited, because I've just spent the night. I'm waking up seeing it going, wow, it's minus 17. I'm out here. I'm alive. I'm 64. I can still do this. I feel at peace. I'm not scared. I have good food, and I'll have a little movie at the end. So
yeah. Okay.
Well, there's just so many fingers coming in all the time on this philosophy. So it's not one track.
Right. You did mention the concept of the camp chores and how there's a lot going on, obviously, with wintertime and doing some extra things for sure. It did look, though, like on your recent video that there were some added chores that didn't need to happen, or maybe I misinterpreted, but it looked like you were digging out an area that was the size of a house foundation in order to set up like a common zone. And then it looked like at some point, go ahead.
Yeah, those guys did that because Miyagi's pretty new. He made that hot tent himself.
Right.
And they dug it out. I was over there doing my own thing. I barely helped them with that. I was working on other parts of camp that needed digging out, like finding the Donaker, which is the latrine, digging that out, finding out. So we dispersed our chores real good. But what those guys, like, it was fun to watch them because on the second leg of the trip, we had to find a place where we were out of the wind. And the guys, they just started stomping around, pack that snow down. And in retrospect, maybe that's what they should have done on the first leg. But the snow was it was just the powder. It was just
like sugar snow, you said.
It's totally sugar. It just had no packability.
Right.
It was just, you couldn't make a snowball, setting my stakes for my tarp. I had to really, the ones I staked in the ground, I had to really get them down deep and really let them set before I even tightened my tarp. But I'm not one to jump in on anybody else's chore and tell them, like, it'd be the note, well, I think what you guys ought to do here. It's the same thing. We were talking about this. Here's some camp philosophy. Now, this is a big thing for me. And it's come to light. Now, I remember being a Boy Scout, and sometimes our scoutmaster would have 10 of us start a fire. So you got 10 guys in there trying to light this thing, putting the wood on, just choking it out. You get the fire going. One guy throws a big log, it collapses, it's got no air, it smolders.
Right.
So when I watch, and I was telling one of the other guys, I was not telling, I was commenting, like, if two guys are starting the actual fire, getting the kindling, stacking the logs, working on that in the snow, let them be. Let them just do that. Your best option is to start splitting wood, go get wood, start sawing wood, or one of the other camp chores that needs to be done. Like at one point, everybody was choring so hard, and that was the second leg of the trip. And we had hiked out, met these guys, had to move the cars, get up, everybody's filming, get it together, get on the trail, find this camp, stomp it down. And I knew, because I felt the same way, nobody was drinking enough, everybody was hungry, and you will bonk fast in the winter about 4 o'clock. So I had brought these ribs. So I said, what I'm going to do, because everybody's over there working, there's like 6 guys, I'm going to go heat up some of these ribs and go dole them out to get a little pig fat in everybody. So I think it's a matter of just like sometimes recognizing chores, but don't step on everybody's chores, because only so many people can do. Like we ended up wood cutting in a really good way, because Jeremy likes to go pull wood on the sled because he's a cardio guy. Other guys like to get back in the wood and find the wood and cut it. I'm a splitting man. So one guy's got to sit there and be splitting it up. So we just did it without speaking. And then it's got to get to the fire pit. We got to get all the kindling. So it just happened really nicely. If we'd all been doing one chore, we'd have constantly been behind on the next chore. So that's just what sort of what I was focusing on a lot, but mainly down to that fire. Because I've seen that where someone starts a light of fire and the people go, oh, I should probably help him. And you just see the fire get choked out. Everybody's just throwing wood. Whoa. Back up now. It's interesting just to watch that stuff.
There you go. And that's pure backpacking philosophy right there. That's just chore philosophy. And what's the most efficient way to do it without, stepping on other people's toes, so to speak. But speaking of chores, though, we did have a listener question that wanted to know, what is your least favorite winter camp chore?
My least favorite chore in general, and I hated it as a scout, but it's worse even in the winter, is taking my hammock or my top quilt and stuffing it back in the stuff sack and wrestling that sill nylon with gloves on, and it's below zero, and I don't want to bare my hands out. So I got, but I will sometimes, and it's just the cramming, rotating the bag, the cramming, it warms up. I just don't like it.
Okay.
But I have to pack it up because then it's going to get on your pulk and it's all wadded. That's one chore that I really don't like at camp. That's just one of those ones I go, I just hate this. Trying to get my tarp back in the stuff sack because they never make stuff sacks big enough. So then I will sometimes put them in bigger stuff sacks, but it feels too big. So I kind of want it compressed, but not compressed to the point of mashing. It's just a fine little weird line that you could never explain it to someone that doesn't camp.
No, I think, you're like striking a nerve with me because I feel like that's probably one of my least ones too, is I don't mind packing up that much. I'm not a hammock person, but I hate packing the tent because of it's the same issue. And it seems like it's a shelter issue where they're trying to save space, at the outdoor stores or wherever they're storing those things. And they'll let the sleeping bags take as much space as they take, but not the tents or the hammocks or whatever. That's interesting.
Yeah, they come perfectly packed in there, but once you take it out, you're going, how did they?
I know.
How many weeks did they spend to perfect this? But with cramming the top quilt back in, you get it down one side, then you got to roll it over to the other side because there's this big bulge and pull the stuff stack up. And then these days, everything is like sil nylon, so it's slippery. Yeah. And that's just a task I laugh because it's like, what a first world problem. But it's one of my least favorite.
Right. That's funny.
I don't like it. No like.
All right. You already alluded to the fact that you've recently gone solo. And as we were kind of bouncing ideas around as far as like what the main topic for this show is going to be about, you referenced like the advantages of going solo, basically, like, why it's better to go solo. So I said, okay, can you come up with 3 reasons why you should go solo instead of going with a crew? And you said you had 3 reasons. And so I want to hear these because you're talking to the guy that never wants to go solo, like ever. I've gone a few times. I never want to go again.
I think what you just said is one dividing line because I'm a spirited introvert at heart.
Okay.
I about every third trip I like to go with people.
Okay.
The extrovert will never enjoy a solo trip because they want to share that energy. They want to talk at dusk. They might want to talk while they're on the trail.
Oh yeah.
But for me, what it came down to in time, like I said, being 64 now, and this was probably when I got in my late 40s, a lot of people in my life that I backpacked with dropped out. They either did not backpack anymore or were just too busy in life or like, I'm just too out of shape for it.
Wait, too busy? Isn't that when they start becoming like, the kids are older or empty nesters? Isn't that like, aren't they more available?
Not in the 40s. I don't, for whatever reason. That's weird. It's like a couple of my friends said, well, backpacking's for when you're in college.
Okay.
So they didn't go as much anyway.
Huh.
And once I started doing YouTube, between that, not finding people and moving to Minnesota because my wife is from here. So my really good friends like Hickory and Turk, they live down in Virginia and the Carolinas. Right. So in order for me to take a trip with them, I got to travel.
Right.
Which to me puts a new spin on a trip because now I got to plan more. I got to figure if I'm going to drive or fly or how I'm going to get there. La-di-da. I like Minnesota has so many trails. Here's my main thing about a solo. My main deal, number one, is it became a necessity because I didn't have anybody to go with. And I didn't want to always go with people on hammock forums I didn't know or risk. And it sounds kind of awful. Sometimes just risk going with these people. I don't know them. And what if I get out there and they're not self-sufficient or really drunk or whatever? And I'm an ex-drunk. So, it could be anything, but I'm going, I don't want to, like I said, it's precious time and I don't want to waste a trip kind of being with some people or a person that maybe I don't enjoy a lot. And I don't mean that how it sounds, but
no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
2 was, I just didn't have, there was not people to go because, my job was in entertainment. So I worked weekends. Most people have weekends to go camping. Weekends were my, Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday or most people's, to me, that's my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I had the week off. And so everybody else go, man, I'd love to go, but I got to go to work. So I saw that's a weeding out line. And if we were young, they might have taken off work, but now they're at that point where they got kids, they got a house, they got mortgage, they got insurance. They got to go to work and earn, right? They want their BMW, they want things. They're paying. They're up to their neck in debt with nice stuff. So people were not apt to just go, yeah, I'll take a couple of days off, not without a long range planning out. Third is probably my favorite is I'm a last minute guy. I'll see an opportunity to go. I can tell I'm getting on my wife's nerves or something, or I'll see a cold weather front. Like my solo a couple of weeks ago, I saw it was going to get down in the negatives. And I said, it might be the last cold spell. We're kind of getting to that part of the year here in Minnesota where we'll have cold, but our sub-zeros are going to leave pretty soon. And we're just going to get the 20, 19, 15, 28. And I said,
so warm. The warm temperatures are coming.
Yeah, kind of warm for us. And I want to go in the cracking cold. So I always give a little shout out to my friends Alex and Jonah, but I knew they wouldn't be able to go. But I just give them the shout, hey, if you can, come on. But they can't because they work and got family things. Then I can just go, I can pack it up. I can go on my own time. I can get up at 3 a.m. or go get a hotel, whatever I want to do. I don't have to meet anybody. I don't have to do that thing where I'm going, hey, man, I'm heading out Sunday night. Oh, man, could you make it Friday? No, because I'm going Sunday. Could you make it Sunday? Don't turn it into your trip. This is my suggestion. There's always this negotiating. And then it becomes like, are we going to drive together? Or are we taking 2 cars? And where do we meet? And then just more and more little things. And I just sometimes don't like to deal with those little things. Like I can go, I can park, I can drive, I can do my own thing. It's easier to film a solo trip. It's just me and the camera. I don't have to stop and inconvenience people by filming or make them uncomfortable, you know. And I always tell people, if I'm filming and talking in the camera, feel free to come in and butt in. I don't care. Just a YouTube video. It's not like I'm Spielberg. So it weeds out a lot of that. And then it's just my own agenda. If I want to crank, if I want to be lazy, I can do whatever I want to do. And there is a freedom in that. But what you miss is when dusk rolls around, it's kind of nice to have someone to talk to, and I have to do all the chores myself.
Right.
So it really comes down. Those are all my main reasons. That's probably more than 3. It's just easier. I can jump in the car. I can do it last minute. I can go without a lot of just scheduling meeting. Hey, can I bring my buddy? But he's going to have to meet us a day later. So we can hike back out. There's just all those little things where sometimes I'm going,
Yeah. Okay. You had some good reasons there. One, I wasn't. Yeah, I guess I was definitely anticipating the last one, just kind of the ease, logistical ease, especially if you're going last minute. That makes a lot of sense. But the one that really struck me that I didn't really think about was when friends are dropping off, right? When you don't have quite your crew, or the availability is kind of less and less as the years go on. And so now, how do I either rebuild a crew or rebuild my network so I have a lot more people I can invite if I do want to go with somebody? And you're saying that it's risky because if you end up, going on a trip or carving out time, and then you have some people who you really don't want to be with, that's going to wreck the trip. And now,
I may be anxious that I don't want to be with them, but it's like, so normally you're hanging out with Derek, but what if every time you had to pick someone to come in and do this podcast with you, sit next to you, you might get some winners, you might get some that just go, oh. And
well, just guests. We've had that with guests, right? Like for the most part, all of our guests have been amazing, but it's not 100% for sure, right?
And the other thing is when you go with people that are new, and maybe it's a blessing and a curse, is you're having to spend that time getting to know them in the woods, which is maybe an easier place to do it. But I mentioned earlier, I did a year of psychotherapy just to find out if I'm crazy, because people always go, "You're crazy." I wasn't going to get drugs or medication, because I kind of knew what the answer would be, but I did it. And in 8 months, I was the psychologist that was helping me. I was sort of curing him.
Okay.
And I kind of asked him, Dr. Bob, based on my criteria, what do you say? He said, well, you're definitely a spirited introvert. You have all these techniques.
Yeah.
Like when I go to a party, if I was to come to a party at your house, I would come in, I'd hit hard, I'd go around and talk to everybody, I'd tell lies, I'd find out that shy person over there against the wall, how they know you. I make a lot of noise for 20 minutes, then I fade away.
Yeah.
And everybody thinks I'm out there longer than I am.
No. You make your impact, you take off. I get how that works. I get the spirited introvert. I get the introverts recharge being by themselves. And I think all this can happen on the trail. I think that there's a lot of this. And so my solution to what you're suggesting is, I mean, you've got a network of 100,000 subscribers that love you. Not that you put a trip out to them, but there's definitely ways to access some of that. And like you're saying, it's not going to be 100%. You're going to get some duds that come with you. You're going to get some people that you're going to love, right? You're going to get both sides of it. When we've done our Patreon trips, we've actually been super fortunate where we haven't had any duds. We've been just awesome people because they have the similar sense of humor as us and they're just out there to have a good time. But I feel like even if we did have somebody who wasn't, who just wasn't quite in tune with us, or we didn't really appreciate as much, or maybe just struggled in different ways or whatever, I feel like you have a big enough group with you. You're going to find somebody who you like, hopefully more than somebody. Absolutely. And then B, you can still get that introvert time because you just kind of build it in like, look, we're going to go backpack and we're going to have some good chatter. We're going to, have the campfire at night, whatever. But there's going to be a time during the day where I'm going to peel off for like 2 or 3 hours. I just want to hike by myself. So just kind of know that's coming and you still get your introvert time.
And it's no offense. I mean, it's kind of like the great thing about being in a hammock. I think hammockers are basically at heart sort of introverts because we like to go off and sleep by ourselves.
Right.
We're not in a tent with someone. And what gets me, like when I come home and at this age, it takes me 2 or 3 days to kind of recover from any trip or physical activity or vacation.
Right.
Sad to say, it sort of started happening at 53, then it's a new level. It just wears you out. But the biggest tiring thing, like the trip I was just on, I'm in there engaging. And I think it's all the engaging, meeting, trying to keep a conversation going so that someone doesn't bring it up. It's the things I don't want to talk about or like politics or stock options. I like to talk about religion and spirituality and all that. That's fun, but I don't want to argue it. But I really don't want to. It's that thing about, I don't want to talk about real life issues because it's like we're out there to be 12 and 13-year-olds kind of, So, I mean, it's like nice to find out about people's kids, but I want to stay away from all that stuff I read in the news and disasters and kind of just, we're out there and let's just be here.
Right.
So,
I don't know if you'd like our backpacking trips, the ones we take them. We have, I would say we're split. We have like 50% goof around time where we're just nonsense and, tomfoolery. But then at night we might have like a Bible study. And so where it gets real. So I don't know if that's.
I like that because I'm interested in that more. Like I grew up Catholic and I was the only Catholic in my high school. So it's a funny thing. I'd meet people like, a girl would see me in the hall on Monday, go, "Hey, Sean, great game Friday night. My dad said you played real well. Oh, by the way, he said you're going to hell too because you're Catholic. Have a great day." I go,
wait, what?
Well, to them growing up down there, I asked a couple of them and I said, "Why do you keep saying I'm going to hell?" "Well, you pray to Mary."
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so this is funny. Let me just put this in a nutshell. So I thought about that and I went, are we praying to Mary?
Yeah.
So I went down to the Bible teacher in our high school, and my mom would let me take Bible because we're Catholic, and it was mainly a Protestant. Almost everybody was Protestant in the high school.
Right.
There was one Jewish kid that kept a real low profile. They let me take all the heat because being a Catholic was misunderstood. So I went down to Miss Teague and I said, "Miss Teague, could I come down to your classes and I'd like to explain this prayer we have called the Hail Mary." Oh, and she said, "The one where you pray to Mary, you're going to hell, Sean. You're a nice boy. Great game."
Oh my gosh.
So I came and broke the prayer down, and it was good for me because the way I work, it took me, after saying millions of Hail Marys in confession, I could say a Hail Mary in a nanosecond. You go to confession, you have to say all these prayers, and I never thought about it. Never thought what the words meant. It was just something I memorized.
Right.
So in order to bring it to this class and break it down, I had to go through the prayer line by line. I think, "Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee." Okay, it's immaculate. She's pregnant with Jesus Christ. Broke it down line by line. At the end of the prayer, what I said, and this is kind of a cognitive dissonance thing, I think, for me and learning and to make everybody else feel better about me. I was going, so what we're doing as Catholics, we're throwing a prayer Mary's way. We're throwing a, "Mary, if you happen to see Jesus or God today, would you just say Shug Emery was asking?" And I said, it's no different than seeing some girl in high school that you're maybe interested in, and you see her mom up at the Harris Teeter carrying her groceries, and you go over and go, "Hey, Miss Witherspoon, could I help you with those?" And yes, sir. You can take these right here, Sean. And I'm going, does the Kim ever ask about me? Never heard her mention you. But thank you. I'm going, if you want to get to know somebody, you get to know their mama. And that's
Okay.
the way I saw that.
That's interesting take. Yeah.
Going through this. So that's why I like these kind of discussions.
Okay.
And I wanted to back up on your comment going, here's how I am as a person, because I'm Irish Catholic. I dread everything I do. So if you were to ask me right now to go, hey, we're going to go do something tomorrow, would you like to come? I'd say yes, but I need 24 hours to dread it. And then I get there and you can't get me to go. You can't get me to leave. I'm all fun. It's just my nature. I dig myself in a hole and then I have the best of times.
Okay.
That's how I am. I will always be that way. So I would have fun in your group.
Okay, I take it back. Based on what you just said, I think the opposite now. I think that you would throw what you just said out there about, the Hail Marys. You would throw that out. You throw that story out, and then that would be our discussion. We say, okay, well, is it biblical for, Protestant kids to say you're going to hell just because you're labeled as Catholic? And it's obviously not biblical, nor is it very nice, to be honest.
No, and I kind of got it. I kind of liked it. I used to go, I'm going to hell on my own accord. You can't tell me to go. And it just made me think of my religion because, you're a kid. My mom was super Catholic. My dad was not. And I always thought the Catholic show, I never felt it, but I liked all the pomp and circumstance.
Okay.
But I went to a Black Baptist church one time with a friend, and it was the call and response and the singing and the liveliness. And I felt it. I felt the presence. I was going, if I was one of the deities, this is where I'd come. So I feel that in the woods. Like, I'll tell you something since we're on this. And this was a hard one for me. And I've done it a few times now within the last year because Catholics, we pray funny. We kind of pray quietly, quiet prayers, and we have these prayers that are written out, the Act of Contrition, which is a really, interesting one. And of course, the Our Father. But even before football games in high school, the team would all get together and do the Our Father. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Kingdom come, the will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not to temptation. Now, a Catholic Our Father would kind of end right there. But there was the Protestants always did, for thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And we didn't do that part.
Right.
So I embraced that part. So I actually went up to our priest one time and said, Father Bliss, how come we don't do the power and the glory? How come we don't do that part? That's the best part. That's the tag. He went, Sean, no one's really ever asked me that. So, and I would sort of play that, my thing was either, I think when I was young in football, I didn't say that part because I was thinking about my mom going, don't say those parts. So there's a positive part, but I said them all the time and going, I want that part. So it's, it's interesting, but to get back to my point, I have sort of said a prayer out loud. I didn't on this trip with the people, but the last few solos, and it wasn't a Catholic prayer that's memorized. It was, I would call it more of a shout out.
Okay.
But I
shout out to God.
Loud. A shout out to God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, who I used to joke with my priest going, I never see a picture of him, or I call him Boo Radley. Don't like to kill a mockingbird. And he went, that's another interesting one, because he was explaining what the Holy Spirit was in the Catholic thing. So I just said a prayer out loud, and it was about feeling at peace, and it was about being 64 and feeling good enough. And I feel comfortable. Like I say, the woods give me peace. I'm confident, but not cocky. And also, in a weird way, I'm going, I know some people that never camp because they go, I can't get it together. Well, you have to make time for it.
Right.
It's like, you got to talk it up when people go, are you going on this camping trip or not? Because you do you'll work, you watch games, you do all these other things. Just take 2 days or 24 hours or 36 hours and go. But I build it up. Keep your stuff packed. Well, I'm going to go and just build it up. Keep talking about it. And
I mean, it sounds like you're still processing through a lot of those thoughts. And so I would like to amend what I said again to starting off with, I don't know if you'd like our trips to, maybe you would like our trips to, maybe you should go on one of our trips, because I think we could sort through a lot of this stuff and have some very real conversations along these lines, because there's a lot going on with what you just said right there. But it sounds like your intentions.
It's also one of those conversations where if it's forced, it doesn't work. But if it's like comes down to it.
Right.
And, religion's such a weird one because I've had some people on YouTube. I had a guy comment once and he said, Shug, you don't thank the Lord enough when you're out there, which I thought was weird because people are basing it on, I figure it's 1% or less of the trip I film. So how does he know what I do? But I put it out there, so I have to accept whatever people comment, even if it's horrible. I put myself out there. So I thought about that, and my answer back to him was going, well, Woo Buddy. Woo Buddy is my thank you to the sky.
Yeah.
You know, I never thought about Woo Buddy. I never said Woo Buddy till my first video. I've never said that in my life till my very first video. It came out of my mouth. So to me, I'm going, it is a holler out to the animals, to God, to everything, to Bigfoot, to everything that's out there that may be mysterious. It's a shout out, kind of going, I'm here. I don't have a chip on my shoulder. I'm ready to camp. What can I do for you? And you don't need to do much for me, but not eat me, you know, and,
right.
Stuff like that. But so
I think that what you're saying though, the comment about, you know, you don't do this, you don't do that. And like you're saying, it's 1% of your trip. We had Brooke Whipple, Girl in the Woods, on a few weeks ago, I guess a month ago now. And she was saying she gets the same types of comments where, you know, she's not spending enough time with her husband, but again, she's just filming. Like that's her time away from her husband, is to film. And so I think that people that are watching YouTube videos think that you're making the Truman Show, right? You're filming 100% and we're just watching your life, you know, go before us essentially. And so, I don't know how you educate somebody the other way with that, but I don't know, just taking that with a grain of salt.
You have to kind of let them believe you're Mickey Mouse, and you don't take the head off. And that's just like, and even like when people, you know, luckily I don't get that many, but when you get a horrible or mean or kind of weird comment, you know, I think about them a minute. I don't type what I want to say. I had a couple of mean ones, and I have this because I just feel like it confuses them. I go, hey, Pojo, don't run your shuck on me. Your hatred is within yourself. And I put that, you know, they're going, what? And then they might actually look inside and go, yeah, why am I an angry person? I need to release the valve. I can't do that for them, nor can I get in there. But I feel like, I think for most of us that camp, you know, I look at it as a positive option. It's a positive thing to do, you know, and you go and it's healthy, and it's like, you know, whether you go in mixed groups, you know, mixed gender, however it goes, you know, if it's a trip of all Christians and a couple of people are atheists, it's a great time if it comes up that maybe it could be discussed rather than, you know, you're wrong, you're right, you're wrong. You know, it's just like and I think out there you have time. You have time for it. You don't have time in the world. But you can sit down around a fire for that long-term conversation and be open to ideas and hear it and go, wow, I never heard from a Catholic. Go, yeah, we got a great show. Robes, smoke, you know, stained glass, cathedrals. You know, it's when I used to go to the Protestant church at Cook's Memorial Presbyterian Church, where our Boy Scout troop was. First time I went to their service, I was going, so Reverend Agabal, he's just wearing a suit. What is that?
Yeah.
No robe, you know, because I'm used to priests. So it was kind of funny to me going, he's just in a suit. And then I was realizing how athletic Catholics are. We're genuflecting, you know, we're kneeling and up and down. So just funny takes on this thing called religion, but
traditions, all that stuff for sure.
And it just is I think it all comes down to me when people ask me about the woods, I think, and I search myself going, I feel peace when I step into the woods. I get a sense of peace. I feel like I belong. I don't always feel like that in the world, in the real world.
Right. That's interesting. I feel like I'm a better version of myself when I'm out on the trail, to be honest. Like that's like who I really am is there. That's where I'm the most comfortable. So I identify with that for sure.
Do you think that comes from, do you believe in that? Like I was talking about this primordial, I'm not even sure that I'm just using that word. I hope I'm using it right. But that's the one I use. Like it's how you end up maybe playing music in life. I didn't start playing music till I was 37. Where did that come from? Why did it happen at that time? What made me dive in? I feel like it was in there, way deep in your soul, heart, somewhere way down there. And it was just like time for it to come out.
Right. Like blossoming and
And if you're lucky enough to recognize that it's coming out and grab it and do something with it, like I'm going to seize this and go with it, you know.
Absolutely.
Maybe from, you know, as far back as we can go, like somewhere we had some sort of peace in the woods, and for us to load our packs and go for a walk and get tired and exhausted and blisters, sleep outside in the rain, and enjoy it in the end and feel, like you said, it's the better part of ourselves.
Right.
It's big. I don't think there's an answer. I think it's just one of those things you can keep talking about, and it just keeps going around. It's just like religion, there's really, everybody's a little different on it in their beliefs from what I've experienced,
Right.
I
think God's given us a passion, sometimes multiple passions, and a purpose, and sometimes multiple purposes. And I think mine does revolve around going outside and getting others to go outside and building community on backpacking trips. But that doesn't mean that everybody needs to go backpacking. It's certainly not for everybody, and a lot of people can't physically do it, right?
No,
and
just
they'll
find another way.
Yeah, maybe their passion and their purpose is spreadsheets. And for however they're doing it, they're accountants and they're using spreadsheets and accounting for the good of the world. I don't know.
Just fishing all day. Like, they don't sleep out in the woods, but they go spend 7-8 hours
whatever
fishing.
It is.
Or even, like, I used to kind of look at gamers. And then I met some adult gamers and I went, huh. And they go, oh yeah, on Sunday I game for like 8 hours and I'll be playing some kid in Israel. But then I saw this study about all of our, our American military jet fighter pilots, our F1 drivers, they all game. So they're wonderful at multitasking.
Right.
So I go, there is value to it. It's not a waste of time. It is, I think it comes down to how, time is such a weird thing. Like, I can't hand you time and go, hey, Carl, here's 72 hours.
You could come sub for me at work, and then I could have those 3 days. I'm a teacher, so you could be a substitute teacher.
Oh, I could do that. I could do that. Yeah. That I could do. I watch out Abbott Elementary, and I've taught.
That's all you need.
I've taught circus arts at a college level, so I understand teaching. We should talk about that sometimes, because I have philosophies on teaching too, how you can reach. But what grade do you teach?
I teach middle school. So
middle school. So you've got
13 and 14-year-olds, 7th and 8th graders.
Okay, that's all.
It's one of the harder ones. There's kindergarten and there's middle school. Those are the two hardest.
No, I'd want 4th graders, because 4th graders are always like, "Hey, how's your day, Tommy?"
Yeah.
My day's going great. They're always positive and happy. But by the time they come to the age you're teaching, they're starting to become self-aware. And just like we do as adults, like, to me, I love going into elementary school and looking at the art.
Oh yeah, I do too.
2nd to 5th graders, it's so free and open, and then by the time they're 6th and 7th graders, it tightens up. I can't draw. It just, so we become self-aware. And I still, at this age, it's, man, we've gone in a whole different direction now.
Yeah, we have. I don't want to lose it, because there's one question I want to get to.
Okay,
I'm with you on the school stuff, though. I'm in lockstep with you. I do love, like, just student art in general, I think is amazing.
But I feel like it all still comes back to these activities and what we do, because we go take this time out there for an extended period of time. I'll just tag it with that and bring it back home.
I like it. That was a great conversation. I love that. Last time you were on, it hasn't been quite a year, but it's been close to a year. You told us the story of your chocolate drawer and how people send you fancy chocolates and how you stock up, and sometimes you'll bring some on your trips. So I had a couple questions around that, but like, any updates on that? You still got your chocolate drawer going? Is it overflowing?
Oh, God, yeah.
Okay.
Now, the thing about my chocolate drawer, because I'm home alone right now.
Okay.
Since it's out in my nut hut in a drawer, I don't rate it a lot. I love sweets, and and I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober 36 years.
Right on, man.
When you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. You're like a Marine.
Yep.
It never goes away. You're never an ex-alcoholic. You're one drink away. So I fill my life with things to take up the time instead of drinking, because really, I was really good at drinking. And what I loved about it is it just took all my logic away. It just absorbed me. So I look for things now that absorb me. Just take me away, playing music, backpacking, But my candy drawer, I hide them out there, and they're basically off limits. Now, I have a sort of 0.3%. Like, if I'm really in dire straits, I will go out and get an old stale one. But as far as the chocolates go, a lot of people ask me on YouTube, "Hey, I'd love to send you some. Could you give me your address?"
Right.
Well, the longer I've been on YouTube, I don't like to give out my address, because I've had some people drop by out of the
What?
blue.
Wait, whoa. Like, they've shown up to your house, like, knocked on your door?
Yeah, like what happened to John Lynn, just show up. And usually it's good intentions. They're bringing me something, but I'm a guy going, don't drop in on me. I need 24 hours to dread your visit, you know. But
That's
I was nice,
interesting.
you know, and yeah, it's kind of weird. So
Okay.
I don't give out my address, but the way I look at it is, you know, I always say something like, hey, your offer means everything. Thank you for that offer. I really appreciate it. But I don't know how, I'm not on Facebook. I don't know how to give you my address. I don't want to put it on here, but thank you.
Right.
So knowing that, there's some real good cyber people out there that can find you. So this guy in Czechoslovakia named Milan about 1.5 years ago reached out, and I told him that, hey, thank you, Milan, my wife's family, they're from Czechoslovakia.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Your offer means everything. Well, he said, oh, you're going to get it. So he found my address. He sent a box of Czechoslovakian chocolates. Plus, he had heard me mention about Meg, that she loves spas and bath salts. He sent her bath salts. He sent a Christmas ornament his kids made. He sent me a book on Czechoslovakia.
Yeah.
He had sent me like 3 boxes, and I love this Czechoslovakian wafer chocolate. It's not even chocolate. It's like wafery. I love it. It's been my new favorite. And then I'll get some. Irish people will send me some, but you know, most of it I can order on Amazon. You know, people always go, where do you get this? Amazon has just about everything.
Right.
But you can even get some of the Czechoslovakian stuff on Amazon. And there's a store, and we have one near us called World Market, but the pandemic killed it. But if you go to World Market, they have European candies from
everything.
Canada, from Ireland, from Germany, you know, from Baltic countries. Like, they have a wide, vast array of chocolates.
Right.
And if any town where there's an Irish shop or an English shop, and most town have them, they got it, you know. So you look around, people send it to me. But, you know, I was born in Northern Ireland. My mom's from Ireland. My dad was a Navy chief. We lived overseas until we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina when I was in the 4th grade.
Right.
So I've always had this Euro kind of, we were always a continental family. We drove a Peugeot, you know, and that was another thing going to school down south. Was people go, what is that car? And, you know, teachers would come up and they go, Sean, you're smart in areas that we can't grade you in. You know a lot about you speak a lot of languages.
That's a funny
and I would
statement.
explain, I said, I speak a lot of languages as an underachiever, but my dad as a Navy chief would go, son, wherever we are, like if we're in the Philippines, we go, magadagabe, mahalana, which is, but we speak it like they do. And before you know it, they got you by the arm going, oh, good, you speak Tagalog. And before you know it, they got your arm and they're bringing you into their house to feed you. That was our end game. But all you got to do is, you know, so get his bibati, olele Michael, chesi de shlachite, taxi bibati, ashukar bibati, gypsy Bulgarian. Before you know it, come to the house and eat. So his goal was going, we got to get in and see the locals, you know, get in their house, eat a meal with them. And then when you see, son, that everybody in every country just wants the same thing. They want their kids to do better than them.
Right.
Food solves everything. You have a joyous dinner. Most people are good people. It's radicals on each end in every country that get all the attention. So it was funny when my teachers told me that. I'm going, so you can't grade me on it. We can't show them that they're, but you're very smart in some areas, but you're not smart in the ones that we need to grade you on. You need to get to work. And I'm going, they're boring. So kind of interesting looking back.
That's what I get that a lot. Kids yelling, you're boring in class, and I try to overcome that. But yeah, it's a challenge.
The teacher told me, because I was bad at math, very bad. So when we got into algebra, I wrote a poem called Casey at the Board about an algebra pro. I illustrated it, put it on a piece of poster board, performed it for the class. My teacher said, Sean, that was so good. Would you like to get out of class for the next 2 days and read this to every class? And I'm going, mission accomplished. And she gave me 108, because all I ever asked was, I can bring home a C-. My dad will accept that. He will not accept a D. So then in 11th grade for geometry, I taught myself to juggle. So the same teacher that went, Mr. Porter, said, Sean, you're smart in areas that we can't grade you in. When I went to my high school reunion, he was there. He said, Sean, you know, you were always horrible in mathematics, but you always did an extra credit project. He said, math was your nemesis, but you turned it into your ally by learning to juggle, and then you parlayed that into a career. And what he was saying sometimes is, the thing we're the worst at, if you try, like I'll never do math, but I can figure out, you know, my dad used to say, if you go ask that teacher to do an extra credit, you're going to get, he said, son, 4 words, benefit of the doubt. Just by you asking, that teacher's going to go, okay, he's willing to do something to get the grade up.
Yeah,
so
you
got
care.
benefit
You
of the,
care.
and then you got to deliver.
Right.
So I thought this quote, I've carried it through my life since you sent that. What was your nemesis became your ally.
Right. That
Great.
and I like, and I got parent teacher conferences coming up, and so I think I might use that line. What you're good at, I can't grade you in, or something to that effect. I love that
John,
line.
you're smart in areas that we can't grade you.
That's right. Right. I'm gonna write that one down for sure. And you're smart in turning a story about the chocolate drawer and somehow relating it back to your schoolhood.
But the chocolate drawer is always there. I love chocolate.
Okay.
But the funny thing to me is I show this chocolate, and sometimes I'm backing off because I get these 5 or 6 people that comment going, "Boy, you really eat like crap," and I'm going, "We're backpacking."
Yeah.
It's a chance.
Just getting the calories.
I don't eat Pop-Tarts at home. It's not like I'm stuffing chocolate in my mouth. So
right.
It's the thing where I think there's people that don't backpack. And
yeah,
one
no, it's a
woman
different,
said to me, she
different
said,
game.
You're going to die of cancer. And I kind of went, well, you're going to die of judging people. And I actually wrote that back. Like, you've got a dark heart. It's going to kill you.
Who are you encountering on the trail where this is a conversation? Somebody's literally watching you eat and just tells you, some stranger, you're going to die of cancer. So that happened on the trail.
No one would ever do it on the trail. They do it through YouTube where they have that.
Okay. It's one of the negative Nancys out there. All right,
I find that people out in the woods, and you found it, almost every backpacker are nice. And I was listening to, back your podcast about people getting out of your way. It's that one of going, if you're going downhill and people are coming uphill, I was always under the standing that you pull to the side coming downhill because you can and let them go. But I always pull to the side because normally I'm some solo guy out there, and I realize I frighten people or they come up and I'm talking to myself. So I just hang my hands up on my hiking pole like a big dumb bear. Go, hello, how's your hike going? And sometimes people walk right by me without eye contact or a word. Going, definitely an axe murderer.
Right.
So it's
that's so funny.
Such a weird world out there.
Well, speaking of controversy, I got a controversial question for you that actually relates to the chocolate drawer here. Okay. So I want you to suspend reality for a moment here and imagine that next to your chocolate drawer, you have another drawer labeled energy bar drawer. Okay. So you got 2 drawers, and I send you, I somehow get a hold of your address, and I send you a Snickers bar, and you got to choose which drawer to put it in. Where's it going?
Oh, it go in the candy.
Okay.
But it would go in a Snickers bar is useless in winter because it gets so hard. You have to have it under your armpit for an hour to temper it.
Oh, I love the crunchy Snickers bar. I love crunching through. I mean, I'm not in your kind of winter, so maybe it's a different story.
But I love what you can do with a Snickers. You can actually say to people, well, this is energy. It's nougat. It's caramel. It's like you can.
Peanuts. It's got protein. Yeah.
Everything. But I'm going, but this Reese cup, there's peanut butter in here, but mainly it lights up my heart and soul. I see stars. I grin. I feel so good eating it. It makes me happy. I've been thinking about it for the last 2 hours, like as a little sort of reward.
I love it.
It would go in the candy drawer. You know what? Just for you, I'd cut it in half, wrap it in half of the energy.
Very diplomatic of you. All right. Well,
I don't have an energy bar drawer.
Yeah. Derek and I have a debate about that. So we'll respond to that later on in this episode for sure. But
interesting.
All right. So you talked about kind of like, YouTube kind of you feel like this pressure of YouTube of having to go on trips and having to make videos. And so I'm here to help, Shug. I've got 3 YouTube video ideas for you. And so my question to you is, which one would you most likely make? And if you want to take all 3, have at it. Okay. So I try to come up with some creative ideas for how you can engage your audience with the type of stuff that you like to talk about. All right. So here we go. Option number 1, how to hang a hammock on trekking poles. All right. You're above tree line. Use your trekking poles. There you go.
I kind of have that, but with the tensor pole.
Okay. All right. Well,
which is a trekking pole.
So not as creative as I thought then.
5-6 videos back. I do have that.
I missed that one. I've been okay. All right.
I'll send you the link.
This one's important.
It's all in the staking out though.
Okay. Yeah. Send me the link and I'll try to include that in our show description as well.
Boom stakes are your friend.
Okay. All right. So you've already done that one. So fail on that suggestion. I apologize.
Keep trying.
All right. Next one. Okay. This one would be important to me. Like I would watch this and I'd probably send this video to lots of folks that I've helped out over the years. 5 ways to avoid forgetting or losing your spoon. All right. That's been a
Well,
problem.
because I have been diligent about that, because I think two years ago my spoon went missing, and I think a chipmunk got it. So I've come, yeah, because I actually carry 2 spoons.
Yeah, yeah.
I do.
I need to
I
carry
have a left
5
hand.
spoons because everybody seems to like lose or forget their spoon. And if it's my son, he really hasn't like forgotten it. It's just somewhere in his pack and he's too lazy to find it. So yeah. Anyway. Okay. So there's that one. Last one is kind of playing right into your skills. A street performer on the trail. How much money can I make? So you got your tricks going, you got a hat out there, people are passing by. I suggest picking a popular trail, and they can sit, it's not like you're not a street performer, you're a trail performer. So you're just sitting there performing. How much money can you make? That's the challenge.
I don't think it would be money. I think it would be the one Cliff Bar that they don't like.
Snickers
It
bars.
it would be, it was like Hicks one time, my buddy Hickory, we were in the gorge, and he bought a bunch of those cashy bars trying to be healthy. For about 4 or 5 days into that trip, he's going, man, I'm sick of cashy bars. I'll trade you a Pop-Tart. I'm going, I don't want your cashy bars, man. I've seen your tight lips when you're eating those things.
Right.
I think it would be like a hiker's box. I think I would get all these things. People would be kind, but they give me weird little things that they don't want to carry.
Okay.
Anymore, which would be great. But I think secretly they're trying to unload it.
Dual purpose.
And wondering why this street performer is in the trail. But
right.
It sort of be like yogiing a little bit. But I think I'd get stuff, but weird stuff. I'm going to try that sometime.
Or, I mean, if you want to go next level, you could just say, I'm not going to bring any food. I'm bringing 0 food. My pack's going to be light, and I'm going to perform for my food. Whatever somebody puts in my hat or whatever you have out there, that would be
scary, because I think a lot of people would walk right by me without looking.
What?
They'd be bushwhacking around, like when there's a bear or a moose on the trail, going, I gotta go forward, but I gotta get around this thing.
You're juggling. Maybe you got to hold some chipmunks. You're juggling chipmunks. You're balancing something on your head. Who's gonna walk around that? They want to see what's going on there. So
hey, can I back up? And you had mentioned, you prefaced this with it. I have backed off of my videos because I've been doing it a long time, and I've covered almost everything with hammocks that I possibly could, and it would just be repeating. But what happens is I'm pretty set in my hammock way now, other than sort of taking on the superior hammock when Danny asked me, and he's a local guy, and I didn't want to do it. I wanted to hate it. I didn't want to like it.
Right.
And now I'm pretty much just doing, for the most part, just trip reports, occasional control line thing. I mean, I would almost want to start a whole nother YouTube channel with all these other things I do.
Okay.
But I've been thinking about doing more just sort of sit and talks. Like we're doing, but because I watch a lot of them on bass playing and stuff, and bass philosophy and groove, or watching people do drywall, whatever subject I'm studying. My wife calls it junior college. It's doing the junior college class. Yeah,
I love that.
Because you can learn something. It's what people do with my hammock things, but I've covered it. And the hammock as a muse only goes so far.
Right.
The thing is, hammocks are complicated. Because they're so, they either are very intuitive, or you come to the point with people, they're enjoying the process, and then they get to the underquilt and it all falls apart.
Right.
Which is why I think Danny's superior gear, and he's not the first guy to invent a built-in underquilt, but a lot of people have, from what I've seen, there was one guy, he started a company, but I think a lot of people start hammock companies, they get a little successful and they realize, I just started a business and already have a job.
Right.
But what it saves me mainly for winter, and I love them for winter, is it saves, maybe less than a second, but I'm all tucked in and I don't have to reach over and tug that underquilt up on my shoulder or make sure it's there or it slides down. But I'm super, super warm. Right. Never had a minute of cold butter back in those hammocks. And when he first reached out, I said, look, hey, don't give me one. Let me just borrow one of yours and take it. I want to hate it. I took it. It got me. It was a 30 degree, and I got down to 17 degrees in it. But before I got cold, and then the next night it got down to 14 degrees, and I just started to feel the cold. But I brought a little 40 degree partial underquilt, put that on. It was wonderful. So I said, this is good.
Okay.
And I like it.
Did you really tell them I want to hate this? You really said that, like in the email or whatever you?
Oh yeah, I tell everybody that when they want me to try something. I hate change. I want to hate your product. Okay. I'll do it because I'm a nice guy, and you sent it and you asked politely. And, there were things just set up. I tell everybody, oh yeah, I don't want to like it. And
Yeah.
then I have to do that thing to some people where they want me to tout their hammocks. But I honestly go, I don't see anything different about your hammock. It's just a hammock.
Right.
So, if you want me to show your gear, in a sense, I'm advertisement for you to my people.
100%.
So it's like show and tell, getting in front of the class. So if it's not special, I have to field all the answers, or people call me a shill and all this. So I have to take on a lot of this stuff. And so does everybody that does reviews. You have to sort of take that on. So you got to kind of believe in it. And I told Danny with Superior Gear, I said, here's how I show gear now. Rather than do a backyard looky-see, showing all the stitches and all the things, I'm not going to do that. It takes a lot of time for me to go do it. I'm just going to take it on the trail and use it. And the people that watch me, they're always looking in the background. If I'm in my nut hut, they're not looking at me. They're looking around. So if people see me in the background, I'll use it without mentioning it. The first thing, Shug, what's that new piece of gear right there? They'll ask about it. And I go, oh yeah, that's this or that, or that's a little table I'm trying. And if it keeps reappearing, that means I like it. And I'll mention it, and maybe even do a little quasi mini review on the trail.
Right.
And I think, honestly, that's how I like to see gear used, is to see it. And then if somebody does, do a little short, maybe review on it sometimes if you haven't covered enough. But, a hammock is a hammock. Tarp is a tarp. Showing them is one thing. Setting them up, dealing with them, fitting. The thing about a hammock, a tent you pitch, you blow up your pad, you throw it in, and you get in and lay on it. A hammock, you're kind of wearing. You hang it and suspend it and get in it. You're sort of wearing it like a weird little bag suit.
Right.
So it's a different beast, and I've thought about that because So it lends for some people. I've told them, go, man, hammock shouldn't make you cry. You just go back to your tent.
Right.
You're trying to get it perfect. They're not for everybody, but if you do want them, I can help you. But
and you've helped a lot of people over the years for sure, because I know I've heard firsthand that you were the inspiration, you were the YouTube video that showed people how to do it and all that stuff. But I like that you're asking people like, what's different or what's special about your particular product versus just kind of like, all right, I'll just do a review on this, because we do the same thing when we go to the Outdoor Retailer Show. We see a lot of like repeat products. People are literally making the same thing that's already been out there. And sometimes I'll ask that question. They say, it's kind of the same. It's kind of similar, just different brand. And I just keep moving. I'm like, okay, that's not very interesting.
I sort of do too. It's like, there's not very many different things in hammocks. There's sort of the hammock that Jonas did, the 90-degree hammocks. There's some real different ones. I like the hammock. I don't take it camping a lot, but I string it in the backyard when I got to make a day of phone calls, and put it in recliner mode where you sit up in a chair. It's comfortable, and I make calls, and I'm outside. It's just really comfortable to sit up rather than laying. And they all have their calling, and it's like, the one thing I do need to maybe do is do a video on. I've been meaning to, but I'm just lazy. Keep thinking about it and forgetting. There's the hammockers that lay in the sort of beach hammock, the Pawleys Islands. Your typical rope hammock with spreader bars. You take a 3-hour nap, and often your feet fall asleep. Then there's I went to Como Park back in the fall and was walking around walking Ariel's dog, and there were hammockers everywhere, and they're kind of strung up tight. They got their laptop. They're hanging out for the day.
Right.
And then there's the mockers, like my nephew who goes to college. You go out in the quad, string your hammock up, sort of sit sideways. Maybe your buddy's going to come hang with you. Maybe someone you're kind of interested in. Hey, come join me. So we're hip to hip. They're not camping in it. They're just in it for a few hours. They're hanging, relaxed. Chilling. I don't chill in my hammock. There's no chilling. And it's so I've started to realize, there are all these different levels. They're the people that bring the little short one. A lot of people bring a hammock to camp, but they sleep in a tent. They like the hammock out for hanging in the day, but they would never think of sleeping in it.
Right.
So there are these sort of different levels. It's like the religion thing we're talking. There's no one thing. There's always a couple little arms and fingers going out from everything if you take time to look.
Yeah, I think that's a whole big statement right there. I think I have to think about what you said right there and respond to that one later. But in terms of the hammocks, there's a lot going on. And it sounds like, so just to clarify though, so it sounds like your focus now, even if somebody does come up with some sort of innovative option, is you're gonna, if they end up sending it to you, where you're going with your YouTube channel nowadays is it's gonna be mainly action adventure trip videos, and you might have blurbs here and there specifically about gear, but we're gonna go with Shug on a trip, and we're gonna see what it's like to go out into negative 24 degrees. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, I think a trip is the easiest thing to film because it's chronological and it just plays out. And you've got, that's why I try to show the axes. I try to show the cook kit, show everything. Because I used to watch videos and go, it's just the guy's head walking down the trail. I want to see what you're sleeping in. If it's a tent, I want to see how you get in. I want to see if you've taken the time to do that shot where I know you set the camera out, you go in your tent, let the light go out, we see your silhouette, and you got to get back out and get the, sure. I want to see, are you shooting time lapse of stars? Are you using a gas stove or an alcohol stove? Are you building a fire? I want to see, do you use hiking poles or not? What kind of hiking? I want to see every little bit. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
Show me your landscape. It took me a long time to realize that in my first videos, it didn't have to just be me being a loudmouth. That a lot of my British viewers would go, Shug, I'd like to see a bit more of where you're camping, and just hold my breath and pan very slowly across that lake and around camp and let them see our woods where I am. And I get a lot of people from Sweden that go, your woods look exactly like ours. And I've been to Sweden. They go, it looks exactly like Minnesota. We're on the same parallel, the same people, same as Finland. So,
okay. So for everybody that had, I think most people out there know who you are and know your YouTube channel very well. Like you're going to pop up in our algorithm feeds, no matter if we want you to or not. But for those, the precious few that have never experienced a Shug video, where do they go to find it?
To YouTube, and I'm under Shug Emery, SHUGEMERY. You can just probably put hammocks, and I seem to come up.
Yeah. All right. Would you agree? Like that was like down some rabbit holes, around some corners, and through all sorts of tunnels. Yeah.
I feel it. Yeah. I think that's what you get with Shug, though. Right. I think it's, it got deep.
It did.
It got wild. Yeah. I think that's why everybody loves him. He's you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
And that's part of the joy of it. So
he's very thoughtful. He's very reflective. And it sounds like he had some pretty good experiences on his most recent backpacking trip, having those backpacking philosophy conversations. So I pull out a few things I want to talk to you about from the interview.
All right, let's go.
All right, this is direct quote. Backpacking isn't fun, but it's rewarding. What do you think about that?
I think there's a definite grind to it.
Okay.
But
get in better shape.
It's not about being shape.
Sorry, go ahead.
Talk to your shoulders about that. I think there's a grind to it in an essence, because you're just lugging around weight everywhere you go, up and downhill. But I think
that's all backpacking is, just lugging around weight.
Objectively speaking. Well, I said, I'm wrong because you also drop things on the trail as well. So
that's how you get rid of the weight.
Right, my bad. So I think in addition to that, but I think there's a real beauty in it, in the sense of, like, you're seeing a lot of times new places, and you're just out in the nature. And I think that is really what makes it fun, is being out there, especially, and obviously who you're with, unless you're a loner through hiker and you like to be by yourself and all that stuff. But
okay. So I think backpacking's fun the whole time, like I share with Shug. Like for me, the only part that's not fun is if there's some sort of sabotaging going on by a member of our group or other groups, or something where they're providing obstacles that are now annoying and not as overcomable as they should be, if that makes sense.
So you enjoy having to filter your own water?
That applies right there. They're sabotaging the trip by not being willing to contribute.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Okay.
I guess also, people that don't pay you back, that hasn't been as big an issue the last couple years, but yeah,
moochers.
Yeah. I'm still holding on to that. I'll be honest. So
you are. It's true.
All right. So I think we disagree on that one. Sounds like you're somewhere in the middle. He made this comment about, like, how, I guess he doesn't always go with groups. But when he does, it sounds like there's some sort of this unspoken rule where they're dividing up camp chores.
Like ahead of time?
No.
what I
Like
got?
they get to camp, somebody's doing this, somebody's doing that. He sees somebody doing the campfire, so he's gonna go take care of something else. Does that
Okay.
happen with us? Is that common, or what's our problem with that?
I feel like I don't know. I tend to gravitate toward the fire or filter
Mhm.
usually. But
Not
I think
filter,
that
not what filter?
I
Not for
filter.
other people, maybe for yourself.
No, that is incorrect. That is
Okay.
highly incorrect. I just avoid your bottle is what the problem is.
All right. That's fair.
So I don't know. I feel like we kind of like slip into roles. Like maybe you go set up a tent. I mean, I don't know. I think there's people that kind of like we've seen many trips like just don't do much of anything. And then,
Okay. If I do, I think I do everything except for the campfire. But if there's no campfire allowed in that area, then I do everything. Not really.
everything.
Not really. I'm exaggerating, but
Wow,
no.
that's an exaggeration.
There's
Yeah,
definitely some folks who don't do anything, or they like getting back to the whole efficiency thing. Like they're so inefficient that by the time they're ready to contribute, like everything's done. Right.
Okay. Well, what about the trip we had to pack our own water in? And
Mhm.
so there's no fires, right?
Right.
So what do we do? Like, I think we both set up the tent and then it was like, let's go to the bathroom and not try to look at each other while we do that. And then it was like, grab your food and, or, kind of like organize your stuff, grab your food and go meet in the middle. And then it was pretty easy.
Not as much going on for that one. You're right.
No.
There was the water. You had to go get the water. That was a significant chore. So
that was a beast.
We split that one because I had to drop it off. So that we had a water cache. What you're talking about in Canyonlands, but okay. All right. Any reactions to the Snickers, candy drawer, whatever?
I mean, again, I'm just gonna put Shug just like another notch up because I think he sees the value and the honesty of Snickers being a candy bar. So I think his initial instinct was like, throw it in the chocolate bar. That's where it goes. And then he's like, oh, wait, I got to pander to Carl and his ridiculous views of it being a power bar, energy bar. Sorry. But again, I'm always gonna default. Where do I find it in the grocery store? It's on the
I took a picture where there's a bunch of Snickers in the energy bar section.
Where were you? Were you REI? REI?
At the grocery store.
Kroger?
What you literally just said.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you,
I think you took it and moved it over there and then took a picture of it.
I've got a strategy. We're gonna get to the bottom of this in a couple episodes. So I'm gonna.
We're gonna call
I
Snickers?
got a Snickers strategy. Yeah.
I mean, it's Snickers rep on the phone.
That's not. No, I don't care about them. So, all right. So I had this conversation with Shug, and it was a long conversation.
Yeah.
And like too long to fit everything in this episode. So I have a whole other episode with the rest of this interview on Patreon coming out here in I think like 2 weeks or so. So if you are a Shug fan, check it out on Patreon. That's gonna be our bonus episode I think it's gonna be our April bonus episode right in that first week of April. So there's more to come. So check the rest out on Patreon.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's good.
It's a lot. All right. So I've got, Shug talked about going solo and, the benefits of going solo. So I've got solo trivia coming up right after this. All right. You ready for this?
I feel like I need a tissue. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Actually, hang on. Let me grab a tissue quick. Gotcha. All right.
All right. So solo trivia is brought to you by Vacloose Gear. Do you sweat less when you wear sunglasses because they make you feel cool? Then perhaps you should try something that really works. Get the back sweat to actually evaporate so the heat can actually dissipate with a Vacloose cool, dry frame. Creating an airflow gap between your back and your pack will help you stay drier and cooler in hot weather and prevent hypothermia in cold weather. Check it out at vacloosegear.com. Thank you, Vacloose, for sponsoring Solo Trivia. 3 questions. All right.
Let's go.
So here we go. Number 1. This swashbuckling movie character said he was only interested in taking care of himself. But in the end, he captained his ship and had his buddies back so they could blow up this thing and all go home.
So they could blow up this thing.
Yeah.
It's good. I like that.
Well, I kind of paraphrase, otherwise it gives it away. Who am I talking about?
I mean, I want to say Jack Sparrow.
Do you?
I'd feel bad if I didn't say Jack Sparrow.
Jack Sparrow. Okay. All right. Jack Sparrow is definitely a swashbuckling character, but I think you're stereotyping swashbuckling to only relate to pirates. And we have to go back.
Figure.
Go figure. I know. Got to go back to the title of the trivia, my friend. It's Solo Trivia. Solo. So the correct answer is Han Solo.
Han
Solo. Yeah.
captain of his spaceship.
Spaceship.
Got it.
Spaceship.
Wait, I thought he had like Chewbacca with him though. Is that not accurate?
He did. Yeah. But his name's Han Solo. So what do you want? What do you want?
So that's like, I don't know if that's how accurate that is. Like he's not by himself.
Oh, you think the name's not accurate?
I think the whole thing's not accurate because you're talking about Solo. You're talking about Solo, whatever, but he's not Solo. Well,
Jack Sparrow hung out with people nonstop throughout the movie.
Yeah, but he spent a lot of time by himself in prisons and cages and whatnot, you know. So
even in prison, he had like neighbors next door, kind of chatting away.
He had a dead dog, maybe a dead dog or something. Either way, I'll tell Chewbacca that.
Second, do you think Jack Sparrow's talking to a dead dog?
He might have. He might have actually. I think I'll just tell Chewbacca that he's doesn't matter. I guess. That's
okay,
cool.
you can tell him.
I'm going to take credit for that question anyway. Thanks.
Okay, that's solo trivia. Answer: Jack Sparrow. Oh, I don't know.
Well, Solo, Han Solo. Okay. Even though he's not Solo. Got it.
You know what's so funny is like I've actually been paying attention. Do you know how many movies, especially adventure movies, like in the end, the climax involves just like one person having the other person's back. It's all about having another person's back. Yeah. Why are you laughing at that?
I see where you're going with that.
Think about the most recent Top Gun movie. We can just kind of keep going. And yeah, I think that's all we really want in friends, right? Or on backpacking trips. We just want to have each other's back.
Just get my back. And
if you're having a hard time, would I have your back?
Yeah, I mean, I would have your back. That's why I put.
No, I didn't ask if you'd have my back. I'm asking if you believed that I would have your back.
I think that you would have my back by putting stuff in my backpack.
That's the opposite of having your back. That's being a big
you have
right
the
there.
Back. Yeah, I get. No, you would. When in the serious scenarios, yeah, I have no doubt. For sure.
Right. That issue came up recently with some guys on a backpacking trip. So we'll talk more about that later. But all right, number 2. Yeah. When a violinist in an orchestra plays a solo, what do they typically do to separate themselves? A, play significantly louder. B, stand up. C, stand up in front of the composer. D, wear a small connected yellow scarf around their neck.
A small connected yellow scarf? What do you mean
the scarf isn't one like line, it's actually like connected at the ends.
I don't even know if I've ever seen that before.
You have. It's a small one. I'll tell you in a minute.
Where do you get these questions? You see,
I don't know. These are my trivia questions.
I don't know how you mock my questions and how ridiculous they are. And then yellow scarf, turn the volume up stand up in front of the composer.
Yeah.
Well,
two of these make no sense.
It's true. The scarf I'm not doing. Okay. I just saw a violin do a solo.
Okay.
And nobody stood up because it's hard to stand. I mean, they could, but I guess it's so turning the volume up sounds dumb because it's like,
say turning it up. It's not an electric violin where you just like turn the knob.
All right, I'm just gonna say the volume one because I've seen him do it without standing up at all. So
when did you see him do it without standing up?
Frequently. They don't have to stand
you went
up
to orchestras? What's going on here?
Yeah, it was like first chair.
Okay.
First chair did it, and they didn't. They just sat in the chair and did it.
All right. The ones I've gone to, I've seen them stand up, but it sounds like you have experience. So I'm gonna. I'll just say it's a bad question and give it to you. How about that?
Non-research question, and I'll take it.
No, I have my own experience. My daughter plays violin.
I have seen both. Okay. So that's true.
All right, and just to clarify, a small connected yellow scarf is a buff, is what that is.
Oh, jeez. So 2 for 2 because of poor quality.
1 for 2. 1 for 2.
I got the first one for sure.
Incorrect. Number 3, this decade featured more guitar solos in rock music songs than any before or since.
It's ridiculous.
A, 1980s, B, 1970s, C, 2020s, or D, 1880s.
1880s.
Right.
You don't ever mock my questions again.
Okay.
Ever. Which decade had more
You're
solos?
the music expert. Come on, man.
Nobody, dude,
you're Mr. Rock and Roll.
It's a ridiculous question that many people would know.
Okay.
Which decade? I'm going to say the 80s.
80s is correct. Correct. So is the 1970s because I've got no idea, but I do know that 2020s and 1880s is incorrect. So
they're like all about K-pop and all that.
Yeah, that was a gimme right there. All right. Okay, so for the audio folks out there, we've got a review that's been a long time coming from our good friend Tupperware Mike.
Yes.
Here it is. And for the YouTube viewers out there, we haven't figured out a way to do the MP3 without just kind of staring at each other in the camera. So you have to go to the audio app to listen to that one.
Exactly.
All right. So that's just first off, this is our last audio MP3 that we're playing because we're on YouTube and the audio apps now. So thank you, Mike. You're the last one. We still want MP3s. We still want to hear from everybody, but you got to take a little selfie video for that. So yeah. The Tusher jacket from Outdoor Vitals, 7 ounces. Mike had a solid review. Mike is so good at reviewing stuff, man. Do you want to buy it? Are you in on that?
No.
Okay, why not? You don't want a rain jacket.
Because it's kind of more fun to say that. Yeah, no, okay. I'll take a rain jacket. Absolutely.
Okay. Just full disclosure. Please. Full disclosure. Derek went about. Did you go like a full decade backpacking without bringing a rain jacket?
I want to say it was like 8 years, maybe.
It was a long time.
It was close. It was close.
Through at least one significant rain trip as well, and I think you bring one from now on. Thank you for that. But yeah, 7 ounces is legit for a size large rain jacket. Like that is a good size.
I need one. I need one.
Yeah,
I didn't like the last one I had. I got rid of it.
Well, I'll have the link in the show description for both YouTube and the audio apps. If you're going to check that out, outdoorvitals.com. It'll be the direct link there. Thank you, Mike. Yep. And yeah. All right. So we have we have some new reviews on the Apple Podcast app. Have you checked them out?
No, I haven't looked on that in a while.
Do you want to look?
Right now, mid-show, you want me to pull it up?
Yeah.
I have issues pulling it up. It says I may sign up soon. Your information and humor is amazing and very genuine. You stay focused on every sentence being digestible for hikers. Ooh, good word. Can you please let me and others know why the $50,000 approximate helicopter rescue and remote parks to 70? Okay, so 50 to 750,000. This is from Himalaya Helicopter Rescues in Everest. Was not addressed. Like, why are these helicopter fees not addressed? I use the newest Garmin Mini, which offers 100% free rescue insurance. Yes, the Garmin uses 1980 software and could not be much worse. The Garmin insurance alone is the entire value, regardless of the software clunkiness. I travel constantly and hike every state, and unless you're in a steep walled canyon, it always works.
Yeah. Okay. That was like both encouraging and asking a good question in the review. So thank you, Axeman, which is an awesome name. Yeah. Any guesses which state Axeman's from?
I'm going to say no. North Dakota.
North Dakota? Okay. So you feel like Nashville's in North Dakota?
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. Close. Check right there.
Yeah. I got to look more into the Garmin Mini. I think he's referring to the Mini too, because that didn't come like that. Insurance didn't come with the one that I have. I got the older one. And I know that on Garmin.
How old is yours? Yours is like 3 years old?
2 or 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Not that old, but it's like, you know when you like buy something that's been out for a couple of years and then they bring out the new version right after. That's what happened.
All tech. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, so we've got the one that I have, I have to see if that has it. I tried looking it up. The only Garmin insurance that I saw for helicopter rescues was like a separate insurance package that you can buy from Garmin. It was like $35 for some sort of subscription service, which is a good deal if you plan on getting helicopter rescued. I don't know that a lot of us are planning that though, especially not in the Himalayas, which is what he referenced for 750K. But you're right. If it comes with the Garmin stuff, that's a really good deal. So I have to look more into that.
Yeah.
I should have before I read the review. My bad on that.
I mean, does that include, like, if you're going to the Himalayas to do what? Everest, probably, right? So, I mean, and you're spending, I want to say it's 6 figures now to go up there and do that. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a lot of money. Does none of that includes any kind of helicopter evacuation, anything?
You probably want to invest in some travel insurance, I would guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's for sure.
So, and travel insurance does include the helicopter and all sorts of other crazy things, but yeah, that's so anyway, thank you for reviewing us. Axeman, reach out. I'm kind of running low on random gear packages, but I can muster up something decent for you.
Oh, we can.
I can.
Send them one of your buffs.
What's that?
Send them one of your buffs that you love.
Yeah, because I have a lot of those. So let's see. Other than that, the only other thing that I had was he mentioned possibly joining him. I'm guessing he meant Patreon. We might start having some ads inserted into our shows because of the new hosting service that we joined up with called Waypoint. But you can get all of our episodes ad-free on Patreon every Monday. They come out literally at the exact same time. just a little heads up there. We also have bonus episodes each month, like I already mentioned, and Patreon trips. We would love you to join the family.
Please.
And that's all I got, my friend.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, what about, you want to read this Boruto one or no? Did you already read it?
Sounds like you want to read it. Go ahead.
I'll read it.
Okay.
It says, if you, listen to these guys. It says, if you're searching for some clean Christian backpacking conversation, look no further. Derek and Carl are two dudes who know their backpacking stuff, but don't take themselves too seriously. You'll walk away with some sort of knowledge, especially if Derek is directing trivia.
Wow.
To make your backpacking adventures. Yeah. Note that. To make your backpacking adventures that much better. Give them a listen. I guarantee you'll be entertained with some laughter and fun along the way. Keep up the good work, gentlemen, except Carl. So,
yeah.
I mean, there it is right there.
Thank you, Betrudo22. If you haven't left a review before, yeah, you two reach out as well for a random gear package. And for real, that's all I got.
That's all I got. Guys, we will see you next time. If you want to leave a review, make sure and be honest about how terrible Carl's trivia is. We will see you next time.